Shalom, my name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube Torah portion live stream. My name is Adam, your host, and this is week 24, and we are in Vayikra. This is Leviticus, chapter 1, verse 1 through 6, 7. And so now we finished Genesis, we finished Exodus, and now we're in Leviticus. So, Genesis is kind of the history of the creation, the history of the people. The Exodus, of course, is leaving Egypt and building the tabernacle and giving the law and setting things straight. And Leviticus, Vayikra, is all about drawing near to Yahuah. So, I think for many of us, we're like, oh, Genesis is great, Exodus is great, Numbers is great, Deuteronomy, awesome. What do we do with Leviticus? Other than like Leviticus 23, what do we do with it? I've kind of felt the same way for a long time, but I think the longer we continue to do this, the more Yah will give us wisdom and understanding. And, there's actually quite a bit to learn about these sacrifices. And, sacrifices really isn't even the right word. Offering, I think is the word used, but even that, really it doesn't even get to really the heart of what these gifts were, these korbans, what the offerings were. We'll get into that a little bit tonight, but let me just say this: there's quite a bit to learn here, and we have a lot to study here in Leviticus, a lot more than we did last year. Let me just say that. So praise be to Yah. Let's start off with a quick bit of prayer, and we'll get started with this week's Torah portion. So, Heavenly Father, O Yahuah, we come before you in Yahusha's name, and we just thank you for your word. We just ask you to open our eyes and ears to understand it better, that we may walk it out and be hearers and doers of your word. And we just bless you and thank you on this Shabbat. Thank you for allowing us to gather together and to study your word and to grow together like tender plants. We love you and bless you in Yahusha's name. Amen. All right, so let's set a couple of things straight. I am a student of the Torah. I'm not a Torah teacher, although I know when I say that, I don't say that to scoot myself from responsibility for understanding that what I do here on this ministry is in a teaching type environment. I know that people are influenced by what I say, so I don't say that I'm not a teacher to scoot myself from responsibility. I do understand that everything that I say can and will be held against me. No, that I will have to take an account for that, and I know that people that are in these types of roles are held to a higher standard. So I recognize those things. All I'm saying is that I am still in a state of really being a student of this Torah, and so the way I position these is, I've said it oftentimes, but I'm saying just in case someone's new and coming across these, I position these as, hey, as if we were sitting in my living room and we were just reading through the Torah portion together, and I'm sharing with you my notes throughout the week of what I feel like connecting scriptures, some things that I feel like or I'm led to in the Word to connect things, to expound on certain ideas. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that with you, and I offer you to be my study buddy. So, with that being said, let's continue. Let's move forward. So before we actually begin in Leviticus, I want to read a few passages. We read a little bit of Hebrews chapter 8 last week. This week I want to read Hebrews chapter 9, 10, a little bit of 13, and a few other passages, and to kind of just set the tone for the entire book of Leviticus, understanding kind of where we are in time. Yeah, we'll just read it. How about we just read the scriptures? How about that? So Hebrews 9. Then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. For there was a tabernacle made, which is what we just finished in Exodus. The end of that was the completion of the tabernacle. And now, as we get into Vayikra, into Leviticus, Moshe is being called unto this finished tabernacle. So, for there was a tabernacle made, the first wherein was the candlestick and the table and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary. We just learned about all that. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all, which had the golden censer and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had the manna, and the Aharon's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant, and over it the cherubims of glory, shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now speak particularly. Now when these things were thus ordained, the priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of Elohim. But into the second went the high priest alone once every year, not without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. The Ruach HaKodesh, this signifying that the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest, as the first tabernacle was yet standing, which was a figure for the time present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect as pertaining to the conscience, right? So, as we know, it would forgive of sins, but it would not take away the sinful mind, the sinful heart, which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and cardinal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation, until the time of Mashiach. But Mashiach, being come and high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. Hallelujah. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of an heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctifieth to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal Spirit offered up himself without spot to Elohim, right? He was without sin. Purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim. And for this cause, he is the mediator of a renewed testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also a necessity be the death of a testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while a testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood, for when Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the Torah, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the testament which Elohim hath enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the Torah purged with blood, and without the shedding of blood there is no remission. That's actually Leviticus 17:11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that maketh atonement for the souls. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Mashiach is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim for us. Not yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with blood of others, For then he must have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world or the end of the age, hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And it is appointed unto men to die once, but after this judgment. So Mashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. Right? So here it says, but now in the end of the age hath appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And that was really the whole thing about Daniel 9. The Daniel 9 prophecy was that 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins. Right? So put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, so that make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. And then know, therefore, and understand that the going forth from the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. And then it says here, after 60 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. In the Septuagint, it says Messiah shall be destroyed, but not for himself. So this is definitely him being killed, but not for himself and the people. And so anyways, and he shall confirm, so I believe this is still talking about Messiah, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. Right, so Messiah cut off the sacrifices, not the Antichrist, and for the overspreading of abominations of Jerusalem, because of Jerusalem was just filled with abominations, he shall make it desolate, which he did, even until the consummation, and that is determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So, anyways, I don't want to get into a whole Daniel 9 thing, but just want to show you that that was the whole prophecy of Daniel 9, is that he would come to make an end of sins. Not that people still can't sin, but his offering up for it and the putting away of the sacrifice for sins. Hebrews 10:1. Here. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never, with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually, makes the comers thereunto perfect. Right? It would offer up atonement. It would offer up forgiveness, because we know, as we'll see, when the person would bring that animal, it was in place of, they would put their hands on the head and they would kill it themselves, right? So it increased the seriousness of that. You killed that animal in front of the priests, and it was that innocent animal, right? That because the animal is innocent, it died in your place, right? But it didn't make the people perfect in their heart, right? It was just until Mashiach came and put away those things. So for then, would they not have ceased to be offered, right? So if they sacrificed, even just going back to the Day of Atonement, if the forgiveness of the people happened once per year with the blood of the goat, if that took away their sinful heart, right? So he's saying, for then they would not have ceased to be offered. So if that actually took away sin, it wouldn't just be 1 year they had done it and then it'd been over. Because, that the worshippers once purged should have no more conscience of sins, but in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of this sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldst not, but a body hast thou prepared me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, at least the sacrifices for sin, right? We do see the patriarchs offering up free will offerings, peace offerings. These are certainly things he did delight in. He delighted in Abraham bringing those up. He delighted in Abel offering up in the book of First Adam and Eve. He delighted in Adam and Eve offering things up, and so on and so forth. But what he's saying here, in burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast had no pleasure. He never wanted us to sin. He wanted us to be a kingdom of priests, kings and priests, right? Ever since the beginning. But, they rebelled. And so he's like, all right. This is what I'm going to give you until the time of my Mashiach comes. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book it is written of me, to do thy will, O Elohim. Above when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings, and for offering for sin thou wouldst not, neither hast pleasure therein, which are offered by the Torah. Then said he, lo, I come to do thy will, O Elohim. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second, by the which we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahusha HaMashiach once for all. Hallelujah. And a lot of people will mistake the book of Hebrews saying that this is a changing of the whole law. This is a changing of all the commandments. No, really all this is a changing of the guard of the priesthood and a changing of how sins are forgiven. That's it. And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. They can forgive, but it can't take it away. Like the sinful heart, the sinful desire. That's why we, if you're with us on the Hebrew gospel study in Matthew 3, we were looking at Ezekiel 36 and Ezekiel 11, that he prophesied why he would even give us the Ruach HaKodesh. He gave it to us so that we would actually keep the Torah. So through the offering up of Messiah, through the baptism, and then the baptism of the Ruach HaKodesh, he's given us a new heart and a true desire to keep his commandments. And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of Elohim, from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified, whereof the Ruach HaKodesh also is witness to us. For after that he had said before, this is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith Yahuah. I will put my Torah in their hearts, and in their minds will I write them, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. Now where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin. Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Yahusha, by a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh. So, in another passage, Peter says that we are to offer up spiritual sacrifices. So, by the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach, who is the high priest, right, that we can boldly enter into, right? So, boldness entering the holiest by the blood of Yahusha. And having an high priest over the house of Elohim, let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day of approaching. And actually, we're going to just stop there. I don't want to get too far off subject. But one last thing. Sorry. One last thing about sacrifices. I just want to set the stage. Although when we read through Leviticus, we're not going to be doing these sacrifices right now. Now, in the future, the temple will there will be sacrifices. Ezekiel 40 through 48 is very clear that the sacrifices will resume, and he will take Levites again, and there will be peace offerings and free will offerings and those kind of things. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But what we will do through Leviticus is we will glean some of the concepts and ideas of some of the sacrifices to know that we offer them in a different way now. And that's kind of the heart of what I want to get at. So Hebrews 13 through 16. Let us go forth, therefore, unto him without the camp, bearing his reproach. This is all temple talk, right? This is all the tabernacle talk. For we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. Right, we're waiting for New Jerusalem. By him, therefore, this is by Yahusha, let us therefore offer the sacrifice of praise to Elohim continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. But to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices Elohim is well pleased. In any case, we'll read that a little bit later. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, 1 Peter 2:9, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, right? So Peter's calling us a priesthood through our high priest, Yahusha, of the order of Melchizedek, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praise of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, his marvelous Torah. So we are to, spiritual sacrifices. I think that's 5, 1 Peter 2:5. Is that right? Yeah. You also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by Yahusha HaMashiach, who is our high priest, right? So Yahusha is going to take those and offer them up before Yahuah, before us, if they're done in the right way, in the right heart. Because there's tons of scriptures where the Most High is like, I hate your burnt offerings and your sacrifices. I hate your new moon festivals, your Sabbaths. Why? Because they had a wicked heart and they did them for the wrong reasons. They were just doing them just because that's just what they do. They're like, all right, well, I guess I got to go do this. You know, he didn't want that. He's like, I don't want it. Just keep your goat. I don't want it. Keep your calf. I don't want it. You know, these offerings, these gifts to him have got to be brought in the right way. A couple more things to preface, and then we'll get into Leviticus. Romans 12:1. I think this really captures the whole thing. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to Elohim, which is your reasonable service. I think that really just captures, you know, where we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be doing. You know, our whole lives should be dedicated to him. Our whole lives should be about our growth with him, our connection with him, and we're supposed to be the bride, right? I know that New Jerusalem is the bride, but I also believe that we are building blocks of New Jerusalem, so we're one and the same as New Jerusalem. You know, if we're supposed to be married unto him, if we're espoused to him essentially right now, I mean, it should be all about him. He should be the center of our lives for everything we do. He should be on our minds when we wake up, when we walk by the way, when we use the restroom. Maybe not use the restroom, but you know, everything that we do, he should be number one. And we show him that by what we do, by the thoughts of our mind, by the intents of our heart, and what we do with our hands. And we know that in Deuteronomy 6 that the Torah is as it's as frontlets between your eyes, so it's on your forehead, a sign of your thoughts, and on your hand, which is, you know, a sign of your actions, of what you actually do with your life. 2 Corinthians 2:14. Now thanks be unto Elohim, which always causeth us to triumph in Elohim. That's not what I wanted. I think it might have been first. No. Well, yeah, never mind. Ephesians 5:2, and walk in love as Mashiach also has loved us, and hath given himself for us as an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor, right? So he offered up himself as one of those sacrifices. And something I really have enjoyed as of late, these Aramaic Targums, check out Psalm 50. I want to read this. This is amazing. Here we go. Psalm 50. A hymn composed of Asaph. Mighty is Elohim. Yahuah spoke at the creation a song, and he carved out the earth from the rising of the sun to its setting. The perfection and the beginning of the eternal creation is from Zion, and from there its beauty is complete. Elohim will be revealed. The righteous will say on the great day of judgment, our Elohim will come, and he will not neglect to vindicate his people. A fire will blaze before him, and around him a storm will rage mightily. He will call to the angels of the height above, and to the righteous of the earth below, to extend judgment to his people. Now listen to this. This is an amazing passage. Gather to me, my pious ones, who have kept my covenant, and fulfilled my Torah, and have engaged in prayer, which is likened to a sacrifice. Did you hear that? Right? They fulfilled my Torah and have engaged in prayer, which is likened to a sacrifice. And I really think that alongside Romans 12:1, I think that really captures, quite frankly, what my whole point of this entire Torah portion will be, and probably most of Leviticus moving forward, is I think we can take a lot of these sacrifices and kind of position them in a specific way, and we can we can have our prayers be specific and our offerings up to Yahuah being specific based on some of these offerings in the physical that we've seen, but now kind of transpose them into the spiritual sense, if that makes sense. So, okay, and just, I'm sorry, a few more. We read this actually in the Hebrews version, so that's fine. We read this actually as well, Psalm 40. 1 Samuel 15, 22 through 23. And Samuel said, hath Yahuah as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahuah? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yahuah, he hath rejected thee from being king. This, of course, was to Saul, but hey, if we want to be kings and priests, we ought to follow this. We ought to follow these instructions too, should we not? Okay, so let's get to Leviticus. All right, so Leviticus 1:1. And Yahuah called unto Moshe and spoke unto him out of the tabernacle of assembly, saying, so Yahuah called unto Moshe, so Vayikra, so that's the name of this Torah portion, Vayikra, and he called. And, this is a very significant type of call. This call of meeting is very, very intimate, much different than different types, different versions of this word that was used. But anyway, so verse 2, speak unto the children of Yisrael and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto Yahuah, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd, and of the flock. So this is, I want to spend a few minutes on this real quick. Let's look at Leviticus 1:2. So speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering. Let's take a look at this, H7133. This is the word korban. And some of you might recognize that word. Yahusha talked about korban, right? A gift. He was teaching the Pharisees about their hypocrisy when, he taught about in the Torah where, in the Torah, a man's supposed to take care of his parents, but the man-made traditions had basically said, hey, anything that you give to the temple, it'll be a korban, right? You don't have to, therefore you don't have to give to your parents, right? So Yahusha rebuked them for saying, for basically changing the Torah and excusing themselves from helping their parents, and just giving it to the temple instead. And so obviously that was a greedy way of having more income come into the temple as opposed to helping person's own parents. But anyways, so korban, right? So this is the word that's used pretty much all throughout Leviticus, is what's translated as offering or oblation or sacrifice. So offering or oblation. But really, we need to look at the root word of korban and look at karab, and this is really where we understand of what this offering really is. It's an offering to do what? To come near, to approach, to enter into, to draw near, to approach, to bring near, to bring present. And so really what this whole offering system was about was to show the children of Israel how to draw near to him, because the Most High is Kodesh. He is set apart. He is set apart from the world. He's different than the world. And those that want to draw near to him have to do it in the way he's said to. And so these offerings, these korbans, right, he's telling us how to karab, how to draw near to him, how to come closer to him. And so some of the offerings are actually, there's actually a write-up here that Brother Patty Dobbs sent me, which is really cool. I want to share it with you. Here's the different, can I do a screen share? I want to show you this PDF he sent me. Pretty interesting. Can I screen share it? No. Boom. There it is. Okay, cool. So let me just zoom in a little bit here. So here, scroll out a little bit. That's too much. Okay. Thus, we can understand Korban to be an expression of worship as taught by Yahuah, whereby one is able to bring the offering of his commitment and loyalty to his Creator. This week, we are introduced to 5 major types of offerings, or korbanot, which is the olah. This is the elevation offering for total consecration of the offerer's life to Yahuah. A mincha, which is a grain offering, the token of the offerer's life to his fellow man. Shelamim is the peace offering, symbolizes fellowship between Yahuah and his people. The chatat, the sin offering, brought to atone for personal or congregational sin. And asham, the guilt offering, brought for sins not considered as serious as the offering, swearing falsely, etc. Right? So these are the different types of offerings, and these are the different ways of how to draw near to Yahuah. Let's move back to the screen. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. There's something else I want to read from that. It's pretty cool. Thank you, Brother Patty. Cool little reference. I need to study that some more as we continue through Leviticus. So basically speak to the children of Israel and saying to them, if any man of you want to draw near unto Yahuah, he shall bring an offering of the cattle, or a korban of the cattle, even of the herd, of the flock. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the assembly before Yahuah. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. So, again, this is pretty serious stuff, especially if you're, bringing something in for sin. You think about it, you're bringing in, well, first of all, livestock was your monetary wealth back then. Sure, they had, gold and silver, but really, the productive money that produced more money. I mean, think about it. You had flocks based off of how Yahuah blessed you. If your flocks produced, sparingly or abundantly, that's income, especially because, take cattle, for example. I mean, you guys know, they produce milk, and of course the meat, these all things are worth money. And so they would have to, it would be a sacrifice of their their possession. But even more serious than that is, bringing in that animal. I don't know if you've ever seen an animal die. If you ever had an animal die in your arms or in your hands, it's a pretty serious business. And it's not to be taken lightly. So think about it. If you messed up, you had to bring in that animal, and it was supposed to do something to them. But again, their hearts, the Israelites, their hearts went astray, and they just committed the sacrifices, and they just went back to what they're doing. It didn't take away their conscience of sin. It didn't take away the sinful nature and their stony heart. But think about it. They'd have to bring it in, put one hand, put a hand on the head, and the other, cutting the, which we know the way Yahuah made these clean animals, which, by the way, of course, all the animals that were required for these offerings, they were all clean animals. There were no unclean animals to be brought in. But they'd bring in the clean animal, and but the way he made the clean animals is it was virtually painless for them if it was done the right way. Done the wrong way, of course, it's extremely painful. But anyways, so seeing the animal dying, all of its blood, dripping out, this is some pretty serious stuff, and it's probably some stuff that most of us are very far removed from. I kind of got the idea of that when I told everybody that this Passover we're gonna get our own lambs, and everybody's like, oh, not everybody, a lot of people are like, oh man, but you go to the store. We're so desensitized. You go to the store and just go get a package of chicken or a package of lamb. That animal still gave up its life so you can eat it. So, anyways, not the story I want to talk about right now, but this is serious stuff. So, verse 5, and he shall kill the bullock before Yahuah, and the priests, Aaron's sons, shall bring the blood, and sprinkle the blood round about the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the assembly. And he shall flay the burnt offering, and cut it into his pieces. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall put fire upon the altar, and lay the wood in order upon the fire. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall lay the parts upon the head, or lay the parts, the head and the fat, in order upon the wood that is upon the fire, which is on the altar. But his inwards and his legs he shall wash in water. And the priest shall burn all on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of sweet savor unto Yahuah. So this whole burnt offering is pretty interesting. And when you look in the Hebrew, there's something really interesting to be gleaned here. Again, thanks, Patty, for sharing this with me. It's some stuff I never had seen before. And these are the kind of things I want to learn this year, and we can learn together. I've always believed there's much more we can glean from Leviticus than just like, okay, this animal was sacrificed, and okay, and now what? Okay, we don't have to do those, so what does it matter? I knew there was a lot more to it, and that's something that I really would like to glean more of this year and like to share that with you. So let's take a look at this. So okay, let's go another direction. As we look at the first three offerings, there is a phrase repeated 10 times. It is actually only two Hebrew words: a burnt offering, an offering made by fire. Let's play with these Hebrew words a little bit. We can change the vowels because actually vowels were added much later to the ancient scrolls. Thus, we can arrive at a whole new meaning. An ascending woman or an ascending wife. The first verse where these words appear is in Vayikra 1:9, which is where we just finished, and we find other interesting words when we play with the vowels or a word. Vayikra 1:9, but he shall wash its inner parts, can also mean they shall draw near, and its legs can also mean and they shall bow with water, and the priest shall burn on the altar as a burnt offering, shall burn all on the burnt altar. The priest shall burn all on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to Yahuah. Putting this all together, I came up with something like this. Vayikra 1:9, and they shall draw near, and they shall bow. He shall wash with water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar as an ascending wife, a sweet aroma to Yahuah. Right? So, wow, do you see a picture here of the bride drawing near, humbling herself, and allowing herself to be washed with water by the word, washed with the water of the word. She becomes a living sacrifice on the altar, a sweet aroma to Yahuah. We can see this picture in these verses from the Brit Chadashah. And actually, these are the verses I put up earlier about being a living sacrifice. Now thanks be to Yah, who always leads us in triumph in Messiah, and through us diffuses the fragrance of his knowledge in every place. For we are to Yah the fragrance of Messiah among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. Ephesians 5:2, and walk in love as Messiah also has loved us and given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to Yah for a sweet smelling aroma. Praise be to Yah. And actually, I didn't pull this up earlier, but I'm pretty sure we see that. Let's see, where is it? Is it Revelation 5? Hang on. I think it's in Revelation 5. Give me 1 second. No. Revelation 8. No. Yeah, it's 5 and 8. Okay. Here. Oh, I'm not on the right screen share. So in any case, I thought that was pretty cool, that whole burnt offering could also be interpreted as an ascending wife, right? So pretty interesting stuff. Let me share this with you. So Revelation 8:4, and the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand. Revelation 5:8, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints. So we're starting to see here how these offerings truly are prayers, and exactly what I was talking about here in Psalm 50 of the Targums. And who fulfilled my Torah and have engaged in prayer, which is likened to a sacrifice or likened to incense, right? All these things that they did back in the day. All right, chapter 1, verse 10. And if his offering be of the flocks, namely of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish, and he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before Yahuah. And the priests, Aharon's sons, shall sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar. And he shall cut it into his pieces, with his head and with his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire which is upon the altar. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water, and the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to Yahuah be of fowls, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. And the priest shall bring it unto the altar, and wring off his head, and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out on the side of the altar. That word wring it off just makes it sound so vicious. And he shall pluck away his, I'm not laughing. I'm just like, the way it sounds, just like, he should wring off his neck. And the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. And he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers, and cast it beside the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah. I'm just going to see what other translations have 115 as. Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, wrong live stream. Okay. Chapter 2. And when any will offer a meat offering unto Yahuah, his offering shall be a fine. This is the grain offering. This is the mincha. His offering shall be a fine flour, and he shall pour oil upon it, and put frankincense thereon, and he shall bring it to Aharon, sons of the priests, and he shall take thereout his hand full of the flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar, to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah. And the remnant of the meat offering shall be Aharon and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of Yahuah made by fire. And so remember, these priests, that's how they lived. That's how really, they were sustained by these offerings that were given to Yahuah, and Yahuah gave it to them. But going back to, bringing these gifts, these korbans to Yahuah, to karab, to draw near to him, we saw that what was brought to him must be without spot or without blemish. And let us, it's something that I'm also going to challenge myself this year with is, sometimes I would pray, just to talk to him, which, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think this year I want to try to take it to a more serious level and, really think about what I want to ask him or what I want to talk about, and not just blabber on. Because we also know that, Yahusha's like, don't go on and on and on. Just, make your request and, keep it short. But, if these prayers are likened to sacrifices, they should be done in perfection. They should be with all you have, with the right heart. Because if these offerings were how we drew near to him, how much even more so with our prayers, to where by the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach we're allowed to enter into the the holies, the holy of holies. So how much more so should our prayer be full of salt, as we'll see here. Salt was required for every offering. It should be full of life. Salt, for those of you that are cooks, well, actually, don't even have to be. You can just be someone that enjoys food. Salt really brings out the flavor. It livens it up. It livens everything up. And so, if these sacrifices were all to have salt in it, how much more our prayers to the Most High. They should be rich, full of flavor, full of, full of life. I don't know how to explain that. I hope I'm explaining myself in the right way to you. Anyways, again, I'm not your daddy. I'm just sharing with you what I'm going to challenge myself on with prayer, with my prayer life this year and moving forward, to really imagine that these prayers are likened to a sacrifice, right? And these offerings. So, if you bring an oblation of a meat offering baked in the oven, it shall be matzah cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, or matzah wafers anointed with oil. And if your oblation be a meat offering baked in a pan, it shall be a fine flour, unleavened, mingled with oil. You shall part it in pieces and pour oil thereon. It is a meat offering. And if your oblation be a meat offering baked in the frying pan, it shall be made of fine flour with oil. And you shall bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto Yahuah. And when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it into the altar. And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah. And that which is left of the meat offering shall be Aharon's and his sons. It is a thing most holy of the offerings of Yahuah made by fire. And in thinking about the whole burnt offering, where everything is consumed by fire, and these offerings, these gifts of Yahuah made by fire, we saw that we know that the fire consumes everything. And if our prayers are to be likened to sacrifice, again, I guess the concept of I'm getting at is we should give everything that we have to Him in these. And again, I'm challenging myself in these prayers, because if these prayers do really ascend up to the Most High, man, I mean, that's powerful. That is some powerful stuff, especially, if we're praying for each other and for the right reasons. And remember, when we're doing those kind of specific prayers, when I pray these in live streams, I keep them, I don't make them very specific. Like, I wouldn't tell you, I wouldn't pray for somebody specifically in front of you, because that would be like a show of, you do. That's where Messiah is like, pray in private, so it's like, if you want to pray for somebody specific, do it in private, do it in your own closet. Whereas, when I do pray for, these meetings, these gatherings, typically it's very broad and thanking the Most High and asking Him to bless it, those type of things. But regardless, let's challenge ourselves to give it our all. Whenever we do come before the Most High in these prayers, let's give it everything we have. And again, I'm challenging myself on this. No meat offering which ye shall bring unto Yahuah shall be made with leaven, for ye shall burn no leaven, nor any honey in any offering of fire of Yahuah made by fire. So we know that this may not be exactly what it's alluding to, but we know that Yahusha had likened the doctrine of the Pharisees to leaven, the doctrine of men, the fear of Yahuah, the precepts of the fear of Yahuah taught by men was likened unto leaven. So in thinking about our offerings of ourselves, so going back to Romans 12:1, our lives, our bodies being a living sacrifice, when we offer these things to Him, it shouldn't be done by the way that man teaches us, but by how the Word teaches us alone, right? So I can imagine if you would liken that sacrifice to a prayer, or even how we conduct our lives, it should be done all according to how the Word teaches us, and not how men teach us to do it. As for the oblation of the first fruits, ye shall offer them unto Yahuah, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor. And every oblation of your meat offering shall you season with salt. Neither shall you suffer the salt of the covenant of your Elohim to be lacking from your meat offering. With all your offerings you shall offer salt. I'm going to share something with you. Matthew 5:13-16. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost his savor, right, his saltiness, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing to be cast out and be trodden under the foot of men. And he continues on to say, you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So he wants people to see our Torah keeping and our good works and our good deeds. There's certain ones that he's like, keep to yourself, like when you give to the poor or to the widow or the orphan, keep that to yourself. When you're praying for others, for certainly there's nothing wrong with letting someone know, encouraging them that they'll be prayed for. But when you do it, maybe in private is probably the best place to do it. Just like when you give alms or when you help the needy, probably ought to be done in private, I want to read you something a little bit about the covenant of salt. Covenant of salt. As salt was regarded as as a necessary ingredient of the daily food, and so of all the sacrifices offered to Yahuah, which we just read, it became an easy step to the very close connection between salt and covenant making. When men ate together, they became friends. Compare the Arabic expression, there is salt between us. He has eaten of my salt, which means partaking of hospitality, which cemented friendship. Compare, eat the salt of the palace, Ezra 4:14. Covenants were generally confirmed by sacrificial meals, and salt was always present. Since, too, salt is a preservative, it would easily become symbolic of an enduring covenant. So offerings to Yahuah were to be by a statute forever, a covenant of salt forever before Yahuah, Numbers 18:19. David received his kingdom forever from Yahuah by a covenant of salt, 2 Chronicles 13:15. In the light of these conceptions, the remark of our Adonai becomes more significant. Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another. Mark 9:50. That was by Edward Bagby Pollard. 1915. Good job. Okay. So have some flavor. Have some flavor in your prayers. Hang on. I gotta put my fashion glasses on. And if you offer a meat offering of your first fruits unto Yahuah, you shall offer for the meat offering of your first fruits green ears of grain dried by the fire, even beaten out of full ears. Now, actually, I meant to back up here, verse 12. As for the oblation of the first fruits, you shall offer them unto Yahuah, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor. That was kind of interesting. The 144,000, Revelation 14:1-5, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice, as it were, from heaven, as the voice of many waters, as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers, or guitarras, harping with their guitarras. And they sung, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These were they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Elohim and of the Lamb. I do believe that the 144,000 and the great multitude do escape. I know there's some people that would unequivocally say that the 144,000 are martyrs and killed. I would just respectfully disagree. And, I think it's interesting that here in Leviticus, it says here, the first fruits you shall offer them to Yah, and they shall not be burnt on the altar, right? So they kind of escape, the first fruits kind of escape that, right? Verse 15, and you shall put oil upon it and lay frankincense thereon. It is a meat offering, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it, part of the beaten grain thereof, and part of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof. It is an offering made by fire unto Yahuah. Leviticus 3:1, and if his oblation be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether it be a male or female, he shall offer it without blemish before Yahuah, right? So you're drawing near, you're bringing your korban to karab, so you're bringing your gift, your offering to draw near to Yahuah. Your offering should be without blemish for Yahuah. So if you're going to draw near to him in prayer, it needs to be in the right heart, in the right ruach, for the right reasons. And who knows? Who knows if Yahusha would offer that up for Yahuah as a sweet-smelling savor. Verse 2, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering and kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the assembly. And Aharon's sons, the priests, shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. And he shall offer of the sacrifice of the peace offerings an offering made by fire unto Yahuah, the fat that covers the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And Aharon's sons shall burn it on the altar upon the burnt sacrifice, which is upon the wood that is on the fire. It is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuah. And if his offering for a sacrifice of peace offering unto Yahuah be of the flock, male or female, he shall offer it without blemish. If he offer a lamb for his offering, then he shall offer before Yahuah. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of his offering, and kill it before the tabernacle of the assembly. And Aharon's sons shall sprinkle the blood thereof round about upon the altar. And he shall offer of the sacrifice of the peace offering an offering made by fire unto Yahuah. The fat thereof and the whole rump it shall take off, hard by the backbone, and the fat that covers the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards. And the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul of the liver with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire unto Yahuah. So it's interesting, taking away the kidneys. The kidneys they're called the hidden organs. They are the last you get to in the body. And so imagine that, in relating these sacrifices to a prayer, which is I think where we are in time right now. It's even very specific, even the kidneys are, taken out. So it's like every bit of you and your heart will be inspected. And I think we should fear and tremble that the Most High can see every part of us, including the kidneys, right? The hidden part within us. So let us always draw near with a perfect heart and not double-minded, but in singleness and in purity and of a settled and grounded heart that is set to do what's right before the Most High and not to have ulterior motives or anything that could blemish or stain that offering. Verse 12, 3:12, and if his offering be a goat, then he shall offer it before Yahuah, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of it, and kill it before the tabernacle of the assembly, and the sons of Aharon shall sprinkle the blood thereof upon the altar round about. And he shall offer thereof his offering, even an offering made by fire unto Yahuah, the fat that covers the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and all the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver with the kidneys, it shall he take away. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar. It is the food of the offering made by fire for a sweet savor. All the fat is Yahuah's. And, what does the fat symbolize? The fat is obviously the excess, and the excess is Yahuah's. And, we think about that in our I guess you'd call them tithes. You'd still. We don't have a working priesthood and whatnot, but it's something to consider that there's somewhere you can put the fat to. If maybe you can find a family that's struggling, or a widow, an orphan, the poor in general. Since we can't give these things to a temple with a working priesthood, we can give the fat somewhere, right? And I know it's tough because I know that the government takes a good chunk of your money already, anyways. But I think there's been a lot of people out there that have found blessing in, regardless of that, finding a way to give a tenth or give some of the excess, to those that are in need. Because remember, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they were keeping a lot of the check marks of the law, but the cause of the widow, the cause of the poor, the cause of the orphan did not come up before them in remembrance. They didn't take care of the weak amongst them, but they trampled them even more. So let's just consider that when thinking about the fat. But also, the fat is also the richest part of the animal. Fat is what flavors. We know that fats are what makes food, as alongside with salt. Fats make tasty. Like oil is a fat that makes food tasty, or butter. Butter makes food tasty. That's fat. So thinking about just the flavor, right? So let's just think about these prayers that would have flavor, right? They would have salt. They would have fat being offered up before Yahuah. So I think truly we should have that kind of richness in our servitude to the Most High, our willing servitude to the Most High, and of course specifically in our prayer time and our intimate time that we have with Him. It should have some fat. It should have some flavor. It should have some salt in it. It should be without blemish. It should be perfect before Him. Just some things to consider, really, about, you want to draw closer to Him. I've heard people, they're like, I once felt close to Him, and then I'm not feeling close to Him. Well, you want to feel close to Him. You want to draw close to Him. He's telling us how to do it here. It shall be a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings, that you eat neither fat nor blood. All right, Leviticus 4. Give me a second. Speaking of salt, I ate a pretty salty dinner. That's why I'm drinking so much today. All right. I took the salt thing too seriously tonight. Leviticus 4. And Yahuah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yisrael, saying, If a soul shall sin through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yahuah concerning things which ought not to be done, and shall do against any of them, if the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin which he has sinned a young bullock without blemish unto Yahuah for a sin offering. And he shall bring the bullock unto the door of the tabernacle of the assembly before Yahuah, and shall lay his hand upon the bullock's head, and kill the bullock before Yahuah. And the priest that is anointed shall take of the bullock's blood, and bring it to the tabernacle of the assembly. So again, remember, you mess up, you got to bring this bull unto into the tabernacle, the door of the tabernacle, and you got to slit its throat, and all the blood come out. And so that's the pattern. I mean, Yahuah set the pattern for his son Yahusha, that the blameless would take the place of the guilty. And that's what Yahusha was. Yahusha was blameless. He was blameless, and he took the place of us, the guilty. And the priest shall dip his finger in the blood, and sprinkle of the blood 7 times before Yahuah, before the veil of the sanctuary. And the priest shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar, sweet incense before Yahuah, which is in the tabernacle of the assembly, and shall pour all the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the assembly. And he shall take off from it all the fat of the bullock for a sin offering, the fat that covers the inwards, and all the fat that is upon the inwards, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the 2 kidneys, it shall he take away, as it was taken off from the bullock of the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall burn them upon the altar of the burnt offering. And all the skin of the bullock, and all his flesh, with his head, and with his legs, and his inwards, and his dung, even the whole bullock shall he carry forth without the camp unto a clean place, where the ashes are poured out, and burn him on the wood with fire, where the ashes are poured out shall he be burnt. And if the whole assembly of Yisrael sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahuah concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the assembly shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring him before the tabernacle of the assembly. And so, we do things sometimes unintentionally and on accident. I know, we have all had a situation where, we may have said something, and we didn't really mean it that way, or we could have offended somebody, and later on they're like, oh yeah, that offended me, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, or we did something on accident, those kind of things. I think we should, as soon as we're in private, I think we should get on our knees and ask the Most High for forgiveness, and in a true way, not just like, sorry, because I've got toddlers. I've got 5 of them, but 3 of them are toddlers. I got a 5, 3, and a almost 2-year-old, and we talk about forgiveness and asking for forgiveness, and sometimes like, I'm sorry, and that's obviously I got to teach them about a true apology, and how much more should our Father teach us about a true repentance, a true asking for forgiveness of things that we have done, and having a true repentant heart. And the elders of the assembly shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullocks before Yahuah, and the bullock shall be killed before Yahuah. And the priest that is anointed shall bring of the bullock's blood to the tabernacle of the assembly. And the priest shall dip his finger in some of the blood, and sprinkle it 7 times before Yahuah, even before the veil. And he shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar, which is before Yahuah, that is, in the tabernacle of the assembly, and shall pour out all the blood at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the assembly. And he shall take all his fat from him, and burn it upon the altar. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for a sin offering. And he shall do with this, and the priests shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them. And he shall carry forth the bullock without the camp, and burn him as he burned the first bullock. It is a sin offering for the assembly. When a ruler has sinned and has done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yahuah Elohiym concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin wherein he has sinned come to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a male without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat, and kill it in the place where they kill the burnt offering before Yahuah. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out his blood at the bottom of the altar of burnt offering. And he shall burn all his fat upon the altar, as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall make an atonement for him as concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he does somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahuah concerning things which ought to be done, and be guilty, or if his sin which he has sinned come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he has sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor unto Yahuah. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. And if he bring a lamb for a sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay it for a sin offering in the place where they kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of the peace offerings. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar according to the offerings made by fire unto Yahuah. And the priest shall make an atonement for his sin that he has committed, and it shall be forgiven him. Yeah. Okay. Verse Leviticus 5. And if a soul sin, and he hear the voice of swearing, and it is a witness, and this is not like cussing, this is like, swear, like making a vow, it is a witness whether he has seen it or known of it, and if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. Or if a soul touch any unclean thing, whether it be a carcass of an unclean beast, or a carcass of an unclean cattle, or the carcass of an unclean creeping things, if it be hidden from him, he also shall be unclean and guilty. Or if he touches the uncleanness of man, whatsoever uncleanness it be that a man shall be defiled withal, and it be hid from him, when he knows of it, then he shall be guilty. Or if a soul swear, pronouncing with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatsoever be that a man shall pronounce with an oath, and it be hid from him, when he knows of it, then he shall be guilty in one of these. And it shall be, when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he has sinned in that thing, and he shall bring his trespass offering unto Yahuah for his sin which he has sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb or kid of the goats, for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sins. And if he be not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring for his trespass, which he has committed, 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons unto Yahuah, one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And he shall bring them unto the priest, who shall offer that which is for the sin offering first, and wring off his head from his neck, but shall not divide it asunder. And he shall sprinkle of the blood of the sin offering upon the side of the altar, and the rest of the blood shall be wrung out at the bottom of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall offer the second for a burnt offering according to the manner, and the priest shall make an atonement for him for his sin which he has sinned, and it shall be forgiven him. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, then he that sinned shall bring for his offering a 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. Then shall he bring it to the priest, and the priest shall take his handful of it, even a memorial thereof, and burn it on the altar according to the offerings made by fire unto Yahuah. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as touching his sin that he has sinned in one of these, and it shall be forgiven him, and the remnant shall be the priest's as a meat offering. And Yahuah spoke unto Moshe, saying, If a soul commit a trespass, and sin through ignorance, in the holy things of Yahuah, then he shall bring for his trespass unto Yahuah a ram without blemish of the flocks, with your estimation by shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. And he shall make amends for the harm that he has done in the holy thing, and shall add the 5th part thereto, and give it unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him. If a soul sin and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of Yahuah, though he knew it not, yet is he guilty and shall bear his iniquity. And he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock with your estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest, and the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his ignorance wherein he has erred and knew it not, and it shall be forgiven him. If it is a trespass offering, he has certainly trespassed against Yahuah. All right, chapter 6. And Yahuah spoke unto Moshe, saying, If a soul sin and commit a transgression against Yahuah, and lie unto his neighbor in that which was delivered him to keep, or in fellowship, or in taking away by violence, or has deceived his neighbor, or have found that which was lost, and lies concerning it, and swears falsely in any of these that a man does, sinning therein, that it shall be, because he has sinned and is guilty, that he shall restore that which he took violently away, the thing which he has deceitfully gotten, or that which was delivered to him to keep, or the lost thing which he have found, or all that which he has sworn falsely, he shall even restore it in the principal, and shall add the 5th part more thereto. Right. So, when it comes to thievery, you give back what's owed and a 5th, right? So you're penalized for it, right? And give it unto him who it appertains in the day of his trespass offering. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto Yahuah, a ram without blemish out of the flock, with your estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before Yahuah, and it shall be forgiven him for anything of all that he has done in trespassing therein. And that is the end of this Torah portion. And next week, we're going to get more into what the priests do. Did I want to read this? Let's see. Here, we'll save this for another time, actually. Yeah, we'll save that for another time. In any case, brothers and sisters, I pray that this might have been some sort of blessing to you. And again, the challenge is really and how we're bringing these sacrifices and offerings unto Yahuah, these corbans, so that we can draw near to Yahuah through these means. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to take it a lot more seriously this year and try to apply some of the things we can glean out of Leviticus. Again, thinking about the fat, thinking about the salt, thinking about the incense, thinking about our prayers being like raising up to the Most High as incense, that our prayers are like sacrifices. I'm I'm going to challenge myself to take it a lot more seriously this year moving forward. And I'd offer that same challenge to you as well, if you feel led to, of course. But, and it should be our best. We should be giving him our best, not just specifically prayers, but, our whole offering up to him, our whole life being as a living sacrifice to him. We know that he only accepted the best out of the flocks. And so truly we need to keep that into consideration with our whole lives being an offering unto him, a gift unto him. And really, again, enjoy that interpretation of the whole burnt offering could also be interpreted as an ascending wife, right? So just some interesting things tonight. So let's do a couple things. We're going to end with prayer, and with the prayer, the priestly blessing, and we'll end with a couple songs. We'll probably do the song of Moshe and one of the other ones. So let's bow our hearts again. Remember, we talked about different types of prayer. So, Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we just come before you in Yahusha's name, and we thank you again for allowing us to gather together and to study your word. We pray that you give us understanding, for you are the revealer of wisdom, and you're the giver of understanding. We pray that you bless us liberally, as the book of James, Jacob says, ask of wisdom, and it shall be given to us. And so we do ask you, O Yahuah, to give us wisdom and understanding in your word, that we may better walk out your word with all trembling and fear. And we bless you and thank you, and we say Shabbat Shalom to you in your Son, Yahusha's mighty name. Amen and amen. So, Yevarechecha Yahuah veyish merecha Ya'er Yahuah panav elecha v'chum neka Yisa Yahuah panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yahuah bless you and keep you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, give you shalom. So I pray that your Shabbat is meaningful, set apart, joyous, restful, productive in the growth, in your growth, right? Not productive like around the house, like, right, but productive in growth. And again, as Jubilees 2 says, it's a day to eat and to drink and to bless him who has created all things. Praise be to Yahuah. Shabbat Shalom, brothers and sisters. And again, for those of you that are celebrating Passover this weekend, hope you have a great one. And Shabbat Shalom. We'll end with a couple songs. Let's do this one first.
Receive us. hearts are burning in his hand. Prodigals are finally